The heat was unbearable. Zira's skin burned, not from flames yet, but from the cruel sun above. Her arms were tied with rough iron chains, her feet barely touching the ground inside the hanging metal cage. The crowd below cheered and laughed as they threw dry wood and fuel under her. The fire was already lit. Smoke began to rise. She was only 19 cycles old. Her silver skin was bruised and covered in dirt. Her long black hair hung like ropes. She had begged, cried, and screamed, but no one listened. Zira was called a thief, a liar, a cursed one. But she wasn't any of those things. She had only touched a sacred plant by mistake. The tribal elders said the gods demanded punishment, and that punishment was burning. Zira looked around, hoping anyone would stop this. Her heart pounded like a drum. The cage creaked as it was lowered slowly, bringing her closer to the fire pit. The heat was getting stronger now. She could feel it licking her legs. Blisters began to rise on her ankles. "No. Please," she whispered, tears falling down her cheeks. "Please don't." The crowd didn't stop. They only chanted louder. "Burn the cursed girl! Burn the cursed girl!" Children threw stones. Warriors stood with folded arms. Even the priests turned away, pretending not to hear her. She was completely alone, or so she thought. In the distance, a figure moved through the crowd, tall, wearing armor that didn't belong to this world. A helmet covered his face, and a strange weapon was slung across his back. The tribal guards noticed him and stepped forward. The man raised a badge. "Galactic Peacekeeper," he said in a deep voice. "Step aside." The guards laughed. "This is our land, outsider. We follow our gods, not your laws." The man didn't speak again. Instead, he reached for his weapon. A sudden blast of light shot from his gun. One of the cage chains snapped. The crowd gasped, then screamed. Zira looked up in shock as the cage jerked sideways. One chain broke, leaving the cage hanging tilted, but not falling yet. The fire was just inches from her now. Her feet were already scorched. The man walked forward, eyes focused only on her. Zira's breath caught. Who was he? Another shot, another chain broke. Sparks flew. Metal screamed. The cage dropped to the ground with a loud crash. Zira rolled out, coughing and crying, her arms still chained. Before anyone could react, the man was beside her. He picked her up like she weighed nothing. She couldn't even struggle. Her body was too weak. The tribe roared in anger. "Stop him!" The chief shouted. "Kill the human!" Dozens of alien warriors rushed at him. The man ran, with Zira in his arms. He dashed through the crowd, using his elbow to knock aside anyone in his way. His feet were fast, strong. Blaster shots came from behind, but he zigzagged through the village like a ghost. Zira's vision was blurry, but she could hear his voice close to her ear. "Hold on. You're gonna be okay now." She didn't believe him, but she wanted to. The forest lay ahead. Trees thick with glowing leaves, fog covering the roots like smoke. The man didn't stop running until they were deep inside. He laid her down on soft moss and checked her chains. They welded these shut. He muttered. He pulled out a tool and started cutting the metal. Zira stared at him. "Why? Why did you save me?" Her voice was dry and weak. He looked at her, then removed his helmet. He was human clearly. Rough beard, brown eyes, a scar over his left brow. "Because nobody else would," he said simply. "Name's Jake." Zira blinked. She had never met a human before, but this one saved her from death. "You risked your life for me?" Jake nodded as he snapped the last chain. Her wrists were free. "I don't like seeing innocent people burn," he said. Suddenly, a loud horn echoed through the forest. The tribe was hunting them. Jake stood up quickly. "We're not safe yet." He helped her stand, but she nearly fell. Her legs were too burned. Jake picked her up again, carefully. Zara, for the first time in days, felt something new. Hope. And fear. She didn't know where they were going, but she knew one thing: this human had just changed her fate. Forever. The first arrow didn't miss. It tore straight through Jake's shoulder pad with a loud crack and buried itself in a tree beside him. He didn't stop running. Zara was in his arms, unconscious now, her silver skin pale from shock and pain. Her burned legs hung limp, and every breath she took was shaky, weak. Behind him, the war horns howled again, louder, closer. The forest was alive with death. Jake ducked behind a rock just as another arrow zipped past his head. The tribal warriors were fast. They knew these woods. He didn't, but Jake had something they didn't. He refused to leave anyone behind. He checked his pulse rifle. 3 shots left. That wouldn't be enough. The sound of feet pounding over dirt and leaves came from all directions. They were surrounding him. Jake looked down at the girl in his arms. She needed a healer. She needed water. She needed safety. And right now, all he had to offer was a half-loaded weapon, 2 broken ribs, and a brain that refused to quit. "I don't die easy," he whispered to himself. Then he moved. Hours earlier in the tribal high hall, word had already spread. The human broke the sacred ritual. The elders sat in silence, faces painted in red and bone. The chief's eyes were wild with rage. No outsider has ever dared stop the fire offering. He roared. A messenger ran in. "The girl is alive." The human took her. He escaped into the forest. The chief slammed his fist on the stone table. "I want his head. And I want her burned properly this time." Back in the forest, Jake reached a small cave hidden behind thick roots. It wasn't safe, but it was cover. He placed Zara down gently and checked her wounds. Burns, cuts. She was shaking now. Her lips moved. Barely. Why do you care?" Jake opened his pack, took out a water pouch, and pressed it to her mouth. "You were about to be cooked alive. I couldn't just watch that happen, but I'm not even your kind," she whispered. Jake raised an eyebrow. "What does that have to do with anything?" She stared at him, confused. In her world, kindness wasn't free. He cleaned her wounds the best he could. The burns would scar if not treated soon. But she was alive, and that was something. Suddenly, a rumble shook the ground. Jake stood up fast. The entrance to the cave was glowing. Something or someone was outside. Then a voice, robotic, cold. "Drop the girl, human. This is your only warning." Jake's eyes narrowed. Not a chance. A plasma bolt blasted through the air, hitting the cave wall inches from his head. Rocks rained down. Zara screamed. Jake didn't hesitate. He aimed, fired. One enemy went down. 2 more stormed the entrance. Jake grabbed Zara again and bolted through the back tunnel, praying it had an exit. Meanwhile, in a different part of the galaxy, a human command ship picked up a distress signal. Scrambled, weak but clearly human. "To any Alliance forces. This is Jake Mercer. I've rescued a civilian target. Hostiles pursuing. Need evac." The signal cut off. Back in the forest, Jake stumbled into daylight. The tunnel had led them out into a wide cliffside. No cover. No escape. Only wind, sky, and a dead drop below. The warriors appeared behind them, arrows ready, blades drawn. One of them licked his lips as he looked at Zera. Jake stepped in front of her, bleeding, shaking, but standing. "I don't care what god you follow," he said, voice sharp. "You're not touching her again." The chief stepped forward, furious. "You're one man." Jake raised his rifle. "That's one more than she had before." The chief shouted, "Kill him." Then a sound split the sky. A massive ship decloaked above them, wind roaring as its engine screamed. Lights flashed. Cannons aimed. A human Alliance DROPSHIP. Jake smiled through bloody teeth. Backup's here. Asterisk, the dropship vanished, smoke in the sky. The echo of safety faded into the clouds. Jake didn't make it on board. Neither did Zara. The Alliance ship was forced to retreat after one of the tribal plasma spears hit its stabilizer. It shook, lost balance, and had to fly off before crashing. Now, deep in the jungle, under a red twilight sky, Jake and Zara were alone again, and the jungle was watching them. Not just animals, not just tribal hunters, but something else. Something worse. Jake limped through thick vines, carrying Zara across his back. She was unconscious again, breathing shallowly. Her skin had gone cold, and her burns had turned a dark color. The air smelled of rot and danger. We need shelter. Now, Jake muttered. Behind him, leaves shifted, shadows moved. He heard claws scraping wood, branches snapped. Whatever was following them was fast and quiet. Too quiet. He stopped. Silence. Even the birds had gone quiet. That was never a good sign. Jake took out a knife. His rifle had no charge left. The knife felt small in his hand. Useless, but better than nothing. He turned around. Nothing. He turned back. Zara's eyes suddenly opened wide with fear. Behind you, she gasped. Jake spun. The creature pounced. It wasn't part of the tribe. It wasn't even from this planet. It was a stalker beast, native to Death Worlds. How it got here he had no idea. 6 eyes, 2 jaws, needle-sharp limbs. It moved like a shadow and struck like lightning. Jake rolled, barely avoiding the first slash. His arm got cut deep. Blood poured. He slashed back with his knife. Hit nothing. The beast circled again. Zara tried to crawl, but her legs wouldn't work. Jake stood between her and the monster, breathing hard, bleeding, and refusing to step aside. The stalker lunged again. Jake shouted and stabbed upward. The blade went through the creature's neck and snapped in half. The beast shrieked and thrashed, but Jake didn't stop. He tackled it with raw force, punching, choking, grabbing anything he could. Finally, the thing collapsed. Dead. Jake fell to his knees beside it. His hands were shaking. Zara stared at him in disbelief. You fought that? With a knife? He looked back at her, panting. Had to. You're not safe unless I breathe. They moved again, slowly, carefully. Jake found a small hollow inside the roots of a glowing tree. The branches above gave cover. The roots curved like a shell. A perfect hiding spot. He set Zara down and lit a small heatstone from his kit. Warmth filled the air. Zara looked weak, but her eyes were clearer now. She finally had a moment to speak. Why did you really save me? She asked. You could have walked away. Jake cleaned his wounds. I told you. Because nobody else would. You risked your life twice now, for me. Jake nodded. Yes, why? Jake didn't answer right away. He looked at her and said, because I know what it feels like to scream for help and be ignored. Zara's lips parted, but she had no reply. For the first time, she saw more than just a man. She saw pain, maybe even a past he didn't talk about. She reached out and touched his wrist gently. Thank you. He looked down at her hand. You're stronger than you know. I was about to be burned alive. You're still here. They sat in silence, but it didn't last long. A sound echoed in the trees. Click, click. Not a beast. Not a tribe. This time, it was something worse. A hunter drone. Zara's eyes widened. They're using machines now. Jake grabbed his bag. They want you bad. Probably think you're a threat to their power. I'm not. I never was. Jake smiled faintly. That's what makes you dangerous to them. The clicking got closer. Jake stood, weaponless, but not hopeless. Zara grabbed his hand. Don't leave me. He looked at her serious. I won't. As the red eyes of the drone glowed through the branches, Jake whispered, let's give them a chase they won't forget. And just like that, They vanished into the jungle once more. Zera's hands touched the cold dirt. She had fallen. Again. Her arm shook as she tried to lift herself. Her legs didn't respond. She could feel them, but they refused to move. They felt like dead branches tied to her body. A single thought kept repeating in her mind. Don't slow him down. Don't be a burden. But her body didn't care what she wanted. Behind her, Jake was fighting for their lives. Again. Just minutes earlier, they had been running. The hunter drone had spotted them, scanning with red eyes. Jake threw a rock to distract it, then grabbed Zera's hand and ran through the jungle path like a ghost in the wind. Zera had said, "Let me try to walk." Jake warned her. "You're not healed yet," she begged. "I have to try." And he let go. For just 5 seconds. That was all it took. Now she was crawling through mud. Her burned legs useless, her heart breaking. The buzzing of the drone grew louder. A blue beam swept the forest like a spotlight, searching for heat. Jake leaped from the shadows, tackling the drone mid-air like a wild animal. His blade, just a piece of scrap metal, now plunged into its eye. Sparks flew. The drone exploded. Jake fell backward, breathing hard, body trembling. Smoke rose from his chest armor. He looked around. "Zera!" He shouted. She didn't answer. She was lying still, her face buried in the dirt. Jake rushed to her, dropping beside her. He gently rolled her over. Her eyes were open, but they were full of tears. "I tried. I really tried," she whispered. Jake wiped her face with his sleeve. "You did. You were amazing." "I couldn't walk." "That's okay," he said. Softly, "You will one day." Zera turned away. "I'm slowing you down." Jake paused, then said something that hit her heart like lightning. "I'd rather die carrying you than live running without you." Zera blinked. He meant it. Every word. They moved again. Jake carried her on his back. The trees grew darker as the sun set. The ground was wet and full of biting insects. Strange glowing worms crawled up from below. The air buzzed with danger. Jake's arm bled, his vision blurred. But he didn't stop. Not once. At last, they found a wide rock overhang with a dry patch beneath it. A place to rest for the night. Jake laid her down and collapsed beside her. His body was shaking. "You need to rest too," Zera whispered. Jake smiled. "Can't rest. Not yet." "Why?" "Because they're still coming." Far away on a black hilltop, the tribal chief looked through his scope. He saw the smoke trail from the destroyed drone. He smiled. "They're running out of time." He turned to his warriors. "Send the fire beasts. Let the jungle burn them alive." Back at the camp, Zera reached for a water pouch. Her fingers trembled, but she grabbed it. "I want to be strong," she said. Jake looked at her. "You are." "No, I mean really strong, like you. I don't want to be helpless again." Jake leaned closer. "You're not helpless. You're brave. You fought to live. You didn't give up when everyone else did." Zera looked at him quietly. "But my legs." Jake placed a hand on hers. "We'll fix that, together." Suddenly, a low rumble shook the earth. Then came the roars, multiple creatures, heavy, angry, and very close. Jake stood up fast, grabbing a broken spear he had taken from the forest. He looked out. Eyes. Dozens of glowing red eyes. Fire beasts. Monsters. Bred by the tribe to burn entire forests. Their breath could melt rock. Their skin was like armor. Zera's body tensed. "What are they?" "Something I hoped we wouldn't see," Jake said. He turned to her. "I need you to stay still. Don't move, no matter what happens." "No," she said firmly. "I'm not leaving you alone." Jake looked her in the eyes. Neither of them smiled. There was no time. The beasts charged. The fire beast's roar was so loud. It cracked the sky. Jake barely had time to grab Zera before the monsters slammed through the trees behind them, setting the jungle ablaze. The heat came like a wave hotter than anything Zira had felt during her near burning. The ground shook. Leaves turned to ash. Birds screamed and scattered. They ran, not toward safety, but toward darkness. Cave entrance appeared ahead, a black mouth hidden behind thick vines and stones. Jake didn't hesitate. He pushed through, ducking into the cold shadows with Zara. In his arms, the fire beasts howled behind them, furious that their prey had slipped away. The cave was steep and narrow, the path rocky and wet. Jake moved deeper, using a small light from his wristband. Every wall around them seemed to breathe. Zara shivered. "Where are we?" Jake looked around. "Not on any map I know." That's when the cave entrance behind them collapsed. A blast. A roar. And then stone and fire fell together. Boom. Rocks slammed down, blocking the way out. Dust filled the air. Darkness swallowed them. They were sealed in. Jake coughed, covering Zira's face to keep her from inhaling smoke. "You okay?" he asked, voice tight. "I think so," she said weakly. "But we're trapped." Jake didn't answer right. Away. His eyes scanned the walls. His hand touched the stone. He was silent for a moment, then whispered, "Better trapped than roasted." Zara smiled. "Just a little. You always joke when things get bad. Only when they're really bad." The cave was cold, silent, but not empty. As Jake moved them forward, strange markings began to appear on the stone, glowing symbols in an alien language neither of them knew. Zara stared. "This cave... It's ancient." Jake nodded slowly. "Someone lived here, or died here." Suddenly, a soft echo reached them. A whisper, not a voice. But... a sound. Like breathing. Jake raised his light. Eyes reflected it. Many eyes. Zara gasped. "What is that?" Shapes crawled along the ceiling, long limbs, shiny skin, moving without sound. Cave dwellers. Blind, fast, and hungry. Jake pulled out a flare and lit it. The creatures shrieked and vanished into the cracks, afraid of the light. Zara grabbed his arm. "They're afraid of fire," Jake nodded. "For once, fire is on our side." They found a flat area in the cave and made camp. Jake crushed the last of his ration bars and split it between them. Zara hesitated. "You eat. You need it more." Jake shook his head. "You're the one healing." She looked at him. "You always think of others before yourself." He smiled. Bad habit. Hours passed. The flare dimmed. They sat close together, wrapped in Jake's emergency blanket. The heat stone was weak, but it helped. Zara whispered, "I used to think humans were selfish." Jake chuckled. "A lot of us are." "But not you." Jake didn't reply. Instead, he looked at her legs. "Burned. Still not working." He spoke softly. "When we get out of here, I'll take you to a real medic. A human one. You think they'll help me?" He looked her in the eyes. "If they don't, I'll make them." Suddenly, a rumble echoed through the cave floor. The ground below them began to crack. Jake jumped to his feet, grabbing Zara just as the floor gave way. They fell down into darkness, spinning, sliding, crashing into rock. And then silence. Jake groaned, opening his eyes. He was in a lower part of the cave, glowing softly with blue light. He looked to his side. Zara was breathing, but out cold. He touched her gently. "Zara, wake up." She opened her eyes slowly. "What happened?" "We found something new," he said. Zara looked around. What they saw below was impossible. Metal, old lights, strange machines buried deep in the rock. It wasn't just a cave. It was a hidden structure. Ancient. Alien. Forgotten. Jake smiled. "Guess being trapped led us somewhere special." Zara's voice shook. "Or somewhere worse." They didn't know what was ahead, but one thing was certain. They weren't alone. Asterisk. The voice didn't come from a mouth. It came from the walls. Cold, robotic, echoing in all directions. Human detected. Unauthorized life form. Surrender the female. Jake turned sharply, holding Zara close as the lights around them flickered to life one by one. Ancient machines hummed. Dust danced in the air. The underground chamber pulsed with strange energy. This wasn't just a cave. It was a buried alien bunker, and something inside it was still alive. Zara gripped his arm. "Jake, someone's watching us." "No," he whispered, something. Moments earlier, Jake had found an old console. It had buttons in alien script, long rusted, but one still blinked faintly. He touched it. That was the mistake. Now a massive metal door was slowly sliding open across the room, revealing tall armored figures, silver and blue, covered in vines and dust, yet very much powered. Defense bots, woken from their ancient sleep. And they weren't happy. One of them pointed at Zara with a glowing hand. "The female carries a genetic marker. She is property of this vault. Release her." Jake stepped in front, eyes hard. "She's not property, not anymore." The machines didn't hesitate. "Known compliance detected. Begin neutralization." Jake yanked Zara behind a pillar just as plasma fire rained down. The floor exploded in sparks. Heat seared his arm. He grunted. "Okay, so they don't negotiate." Zara clung to him. "We have no weapons." Jake's mind raced. He scanned the room pipes, wires, energy cells, collapsed structures. A trap could work. He gently laid Zara down behind a thick beam and whispered, "Stay low. Don't move. I'll distract them." "No." She grabbed his hand. "You won't survive." Jake looked at her, then gave a tired smile. "I've got no plan that involves dying, just stalling." He stood and ran. The bots fired again. Jake ducked, jumped over debris, then ripped a loose power cell from the wall and threw. It dotted, exploded. 2 bots went down. The others turned, adjusting tactics. Jake shouted, "You want her? Come get me first." They chased him deeper into the bunker. Zara watched helplessly, her heart pounding in her chest. Every blast lit the chamber with flashes of fire. Then silence. "Jake," she whispered. No answer. A shadow moved near her. She flinched until she saw his face. Jake limped back, smoke on his armor, blood on his side, but still alive. "I'm running out of tricks," he said, breathing hard. "But I found something." He helped Zara up slightly and pointed behind the collapsed vault wall. A large pod glowed with light, half buried, but still working. "It's a transport module. It might lead to the surface." Zara looked at him. "We can escape?" "You can." She froze. "What?" Jake knelt beside her. "I'll hold them here. You take the pod. I'll catch up." "No," she said firmly. "I won't leave you behind. Zara, you carried me through fire, jungle, and death. I'm not walking away now." Jake looked at her, and in that moment, they weren't just alien and human. They were 2 souls bound by survival. He nodded. "Then we fight together." The bots returned, repaired and reinforced. This time, they brought a voice with them. The tribal chief's face appeared on a broken console screen, patched in through ancient tech. His voice growled, "Human, you made a mistake saving her. Give us the girl, and I'll let you live." Jake stood in front of the screen. "No." The chief laughed. "She's nothing. Weak, burned, useless." Jake looked at Zara, then back at the screen. "She's worth more than your entire tribe." The bots advanced. Jake raised his broken weapon. Zara braced beside him, one hand on a sharp pipe she had found. Side by side. Against all odds, the final stand had begun. Asterisk. The air was thick with smoke and sparks. Jake and Zara stood back to back, surrounded by broken machines and flickering lights. The defense bots advanced, relentless and cold. But they were not alone. From deep inside the cave, a low rumble shook the ground. Suddenly, massive roots burst through the floor, twisting and smashing the bots like toys. The glowing jungle creatures' cave dwellers returned, angry and wild, attacking the metal enemies with claws and teeth. Jake grabbed Zira's hand. Time to move. They sprinted toward the transport pod, its soft light beckoning them. Zira's legs trembled, but this time she stood. Together they climbed into the pod. Jake activated the controls. The door hissed shut. The pod lifted slowly, moving through dark tunnels, then shooting upward with a roar. Outside, the jungle canopy disappeared below. The stars above greeted them. Hours later, Jake woke in a bright room filled with soft humming machines and clean white light. Zira sat beside him, her silver skin covered with healing wraps. Her eyes shone with hope. "You made it," she whispered. Jake smiled weakly. "Because you didn't give up." She took his hand. "You saved my life, and more." A door opened, and a group of humans entered, medics with kind faces and gentle hands. "We'll fix you," one said to Zira. "You're safe now." Jake looked around and realized they were on an Alliance ship, heading toward Earth. Zira smiled at Jake. "I never imagined a human could be so brave." Jake chuckled. "We surprise people." She laughed softly. "Will you come with me?" Jake asked. "To Earth?" "Yes, start over." "Together," Zira thought for a moment. Then nodded. Double quotes, "Yes, together." Back on the tribe's planet, news spread like wildfire. The human who saved the cursed alien girl was no longer an enemy. He was a hero. The tribe's chief sat alone, staring at the broken relics of the bunker. He whispered, "She was never cursed." And he was more than just a human. Above the stars, Jake and Zira watched the sunrise together. Two different worlds, one new future. Bound by courage, trust, and hope.